So a while ago, I got a tweet. God doesn't exist. We created the concept. And now I found this accusation extremely interesting because if man created God, then how on earth is man flawed? If we created God, then why does the Bible go against every other desire that man has? Like, we literally have an extremely hard time to follow the Levitical law. Why do we have such a hard time with it if we're the ones that made it up? Now, if you look at the Bible makes man look pretty poor, if you ask me. So, especially if man wrote it and there was no divine inspiration by God, then why would the writers make man so bad? And as what I mean is, why would the writers make man look like the villain instead of the hero? Now, if we look at the book of Genesis clearly says and tells a narrative that God created man in his image, not the other way around. God made us and gave us free will, the will to pick and choose what we want to do. Now, sadly, the narrative also tells us that Adam and Eve decided to sin against God and eat the forbidden fruit. I know some people who may not believe in God may be saying, hey, what's all up with this sin stuff, right? So let's define what sin is. By definition, sin is an immoral act considered to be a transgression against a divine law. Now, in order for them to be a divine law, there has to be a divine lawgiver. So we're going to call that divine lawgiver God. And honestly, I think if man created God in his image, I think things would go really different than how they've gone so far. Man would make themselves look better. They would elevate themselves. And this is also how we can tell that the Bible is true, because people in the narrative, they actually point out all their flaws and their major flaws. Like with David, he cheated on his best friend, took his wife, and killed his best friend. Samson, he was a womanizer. So you get what I'm saying here. These people and men of God, and even the prophets, they had a hard time doing what God wanted them to do because they're sinful. So we don't naturally want to follow what God wants us to do. We want to do our own thing. And that makes perfect sense to us because we're like, hey, I want to do what I want to do, you know? And that's just the way our attitudes are. We have a hard time doing good. But if man was the author of the Bible, they would elevate themselves to make themselves look better. And this is where we see a lot of the major flaws in the characters of each and every story in the grand narrative that we can relate to, because we've all lied, we've all stole something, and it's these flaws that make the Bible relatable to us. Because if God can forgive these people for their transgression or their sin, then God will most certainly forgive us of our sin.